In this series, you'll learn about SpringBoot Introduction. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Remember that if I want to create a Spring Boot application, yes, these points are fine. You want to say some points, it's fine, it's okay. These are some of the points, is fine, you can say in the Spring Boot introduction itself. Plus, I want to add some more point. If I want to create an Spring application, if I want to create a Spring Boot application, just see here, you can see when I'm going to create a Spring Boot application using a Spring Initializer, I can create the project as a Maven project or as a Gradle project. So Spring Boot, I'm going to create a project using a Spring Boot. I have two options. Either you can create the project using Maven project, or you can use Gradle project, right? So there's two approach to, there is another one approach was there that is called YML. So generally we use, we follow three different approach to create, a Spring Boot application. Three different approach. What are the three different approach? First approach is we can use Maven. Second approach is, we can use Gradle. Third approach is we can use YML. So three different approaches there how I can create a Spring Boot application. So I will try to follow the Maven approach because this is the most preferred approach for a Spring Boot. We try to follow the Maven approach. Okay, so if you see this application, when you create any Spring Boot application first time, so when you create any Spring Boot application, if you just see here, I've used spring.io, then I'm going to get the project. So by default, your Spring Boot application is one type of web application. Okay, so we can see here one point, just talking about some of the basic points. By default, your Spring Boot application is a web application. Already I told you that this Spring Boot supports, it comes with embedded Tomcat server. Not only that, it can come with some other server called Jetty. We'll talk about that after some time. Now, if case of a Spring Boot, it's come with an in-memory database. If I want to connect with Oracle database, connect with MySQL relational database with Spring Boot, we can do that. Plus, Spring Boot come with an in-memory database. So H2. It's an in-memory database. By default, it's come with a Spring Boot. Okay, so H2 is a in-memory database. H2 is a in-memory database in a Spring Boot. right? Right. If I want to say some more point, like when you create an Spring Boot application, I have to use any one of the starter template. Now automatically the corresponding dependency it will download, and that will be available inside the pom.xml file. Even when if I want to use some other database interaction, that corresponding database dependency I have to put inside the pom.xml file, and it will download all the related dependency that I need. Now we are going to focus on the project using Maven. Okay, not Gradle and YAML. In our discussion or in our curriculum, we'll talk about Maven. So we'll talk about here Spring Boot project using Maven. Okay, Spring Boot project using Maven. That will be our focus in this curriculum. Okay. So, right. So if I want to do that, or you can try Spring Boot application using Gradle, that also you can try. Maven or Gradle. Then you can use any one of the Spring Boot version. Based on that, you have to do add the dependencies. Based on that, you will get a ready-made production-ready project in a fraction of a second. Not only that, it will come with lots of other configuration. I'll talk about them on step by step. So when I'm talking about the Spring Boot project using Maven, before coming into this, we should know what is the idea in Maven. Why we need Maven? We should have some introduction about Maven, then we'll get a very good understanding about a Spring Boot project. What is the advantage? Why I'll go for a Spring Boot project today? I should go for a Spring Boot project. I have to go because there is a huge advantage of using Spring Boot, Spring framework using Spring Boot. That's why the whole world is using Spring Boot to create their microservices with the help of Spring Cloud. So what is the actual advantage of using Spring Boot? Yes, fine, I talked about some of the points. It's fine, it's okay. But the advantage of using a Spring Boot project, whatever we find the advantage, that is due to this Maven. Since our focus is Maven, so I'll try to focus this Maven only. So what is the advantage you will find in your Spring Boot project? That is due to this component Maven. If you understand what is this component, how it work, why I need it, then you'll have a very good understanding about a Spring Boot project. Right. So let me talk about some points about Maven. What is this? Why we need it? How it help us to create, to execute, or to deploy an Spring Boot project using Maven. Right. So before coming into this, first let me talk about some points about Maven. It's a very important term. Remember. So this Maven, it is actually a German language term. Okay, it's this name actually came from German language, Maven. So you can write here. It's one type of German language term. So its meaning is, what is the meaning of meaning? What is the meaning of Maven? What is the meaning of Maven? The meaning of Maven is an accumulator of knowledge. accumulator of knowledge. This is the meaning of Maven. So it has, some functionality point of view, it has the meaning is much more effective. Just remember, the Maven meaning is accumulator of knowledge. So this meaning is much more effective, when you talk about Spring Boot application using Maven. So this Maven concept initially, it was actually being used initially, or actually being designed for some Jakarta turbine project initially. So, the Apache group, right? So this Apache group actually developed Maven to work with group of projects. So if you want to say that we have developed this Maven concept, so, developed by Apache group, they've actually developed the Maven concept. Now the question is that we want to implement Maven for our Spring Boot application. We can create Maven for our Spring Boot application. So what is the advantage of using Maven? See, when you come to our Spring Boot application, you'll find, just remember this, you'll find lots of plugins. You'll find lots of plugins. What Maven will do, Maven is responsible to download all the dependencies based on the configuration provided inside your pom.xml file. What Maven will do, all the dependencies is, so pom.xml file is available where? In the application, application project. So this pom.dependency file, pom.xml file contain all the dependencies. Okay. Pom.xml file contain all dependency. Okay. So what Maven will do for your project? Maven, it will add dependency from some centralized repository. What it will do? Maven will download all the dependency from a centralized repository. Maven will download all the dependency from a centralized repository. Okay. Okay. Now just give me 1 minute. Yes, guys. So what you're talking about here is that Maven, what it will do, it will download all the dependencies from a centralized repositories for your, assume for your Spring Boot application, because this Spring Boot application contain these things: plugins, Maven, pom.xml file. So this Maven will download all the dependencies that is defined in the pom.xml file, right? So what Maven will do actually for your project? Just see here. Now see here. What I want to do, I have already created the project that is available here. I want to execute the project using Eclipse IDE. So file import. When I go for file import, general, go to use existing Maven project. Existing Maven project, it's a Maven project. Move next and select the project from the desktop. Desktop, we have the project here, right? Spring Boot project demo. Select the folder and finish. So if you see here, this is the Maven project. See here some dependency, it is downloading from net. And this demo, this is a pom.xml file. This pom.xml file came with lots of dependencies. If you see here, we are talking about a Spring Boot version. It is using 1.8, and this is called Spring Boot starter test. This is one of the test template that came by default for our project. And these are the plugins, Maven plugins, right? So it will download automatically from the net, right? Now see Spring Boot starter web. This is another one starter template. So when you use this starter template, now automatically it will download the related dependencies. Okay, just now I talked about starter template, right? Fine. Now what we're going to do is that when you create the project first time, it will download all the related dependencies from the net. If you just select the project, Maven, update project, click OK. Here it will download all dependencies. Who is this task? This task is actually done by the component called Maven. Maven, what he is doing? What is the purpose of this Maven? Maven actually responsible to configure your project. Developer don't have to configure. Remember, till Spring framework that we have done, developer have to do the configure. Developer have the responsibility to configure the project. But in case of the Spring Boot, what is the purpose of Maven? Maven is responsible to configure the project. See here, Maven is responsible of configuring the project. Maven is responsible configuring the project. Fine. Now, what this Maven will do? What are the different tasks done by this Maven? Maven, what it will do? It will compile your project. Next, what it will do, Maven? This Maven will get all the dependencies from the net. Next, what it will do, Maven will execute your code. Task is done by Maven. What Maven will do? I'll talk about, right? We are talking about embedded server. The project will come with an embedded server, Tomcat server. What Maven will do? Maven will start the server, Tomcat server. Then what Maven will do? Maven will stop the server. Then what Maven will do? Maven will deploy the component. Then Marvin will undeploy the component. Right, all these tasks done by this component Marvin for your Spring Boot application. If you want to undeploy some application, that is also done by Marvin. It will prepare some documentation. It will perform some unit testing. Okay, it will perform some unit testing. Just right here only. I'm not going to write one by one. It will perform some unit testing. Because when you deploy the project automatically in the server, it can do some unit testing. Not only that, it can package the project. Marvin will package, as for example, you know, right, jar, var, and year concept, right? So who will create the corresponding jar for the project, or var or year? Marvin will take care of it. That means Marvin can do the packaging. It can package the project as, you can write another one point. Marvin can package the project. Marvin can package the project as tell me dot jar or dot var or dot year. Right, so these things actually done by Marvin. Right, okay. So if I want to say all this task, you know, I want to copy, yes, all this tasks done by Marvin. So if you see this list, you can see Marvin is a very powerful component. It's a very powerful component in your Spring Boot. It's a very powerful component. See here, since we are talking about a Spring Boot application using Marvin, so you have to know that these are the tasks run by Marvin. Right, start the server, stop the server, deploy and undeploy, testing, right? Or you can do one thing, you can just you can make them one by one. Like this. Fine. So this is a very important component, Marvin, for your Spring Boot application. Correct. And that is very well visible from here. When you create the project first time, this project, you can see here the corresponding runtime downloaded from net. Who is downloading? Marvin. These are the dependency Marvin downloaded from net. See here, I have not added any jar file. All the dependencies Marvin added from net. Marvin downloaded all the dependencies. Yes. Now Marvin created this configuration, main folder, Java folder, resource. Who have created this configuration for your Spring Boot project? Marvin. Now, if you see here, these are the class, right? And this is a complete configuration for your project on the left side. Complete configuration we have created, Marvin. Right, fine. So this is a very powerful component for your project. Very powerful component. And you can see pom.xml how it look like, because this pom.xml is the file that is being Marvin actually used this file only to download all the dependencies from net. because it is defined the template, right? A starter template. When you say this is a starter template, automatically related down dependencies Maven will download from net. When I say here Maven starter test, related dependencies it will download from net. It will do automatically for you, right? So Maven is one of the important component in your Spring Boot application. I'm not saying more than that. There is lots of things how to use Maven to compile your code, run your code, lots of things is there. Our focus is in a Spring Boot application using Maven. So that's why I just talked about, where is Maven, what Maven is doing for our Spring Boot application. All right. Okay. So let me check where we are based